As many of you know, I collect American and Western heritage and history, meaning the Western world. What brought us to where we are? What will warn us about what is coming forward? If you've ever thought to yourself, I hate history, it's boring, today the thing will change for you. Today, with the help of Heritage Auctions, I'm going to take you back to one of the most terrifying, most amazing, and entertaining periods in American history. And we're going to try to buy some for the collection to secure our history as well. Stick around, see if we get any of it. This is the ultimate Christmas catalog.
Do you remember, I don't remember, I think it was the Neiman Marcus catalog.
Stanley Marcus, yes.
When we were young, and they would send a catalog out for Christmas, and at the end it'd be like, own your own submarine.
Yes.
You say you're having trouble getting good reception on your television? Well, squint no more. For Neiman Marcus has this remote control multi-satellite antenna to plop in your backyard, capable of pulling in some 100 stations, perhaps television Rangoon, and an absolute steal for $36,500.
This came, and it was like a Christmas catalog to me. This is the greatest collection of, usually you have a lot in a collection. Here you just have a few unbelievable pieces.
It's cool, right?
Yeah. So let's just kind of whiz through, because there's so much about Kennedy.
Right.
Let's start here.
So what we're trying to do now is curate these auctions, like you said, and come up with the top 1%.
Right.
Like the best of the best of the best
Right.
every year in their platinum sales. So here we are, 1963. This is one of the limo flags.
From his Dallas trip?
We can't say for sure it's the Dallas trip.
Okay, but it is
It's
one.
definitely a 63. They use multiple flags. So I just wanted to be as safe as possible. Impeccable provenance.
And who's George Hickey?
He was one of the Secret Service agents on the spot. He was the guy that was with Kennedy when they took him out of the ambulance at the hospital.
Oh,
he was the one that quarantined the limo.
Wow.
He was the guy.
Wow.
So this came from Hickey. You have his ID card, you have his pass, and this was his flag. So it's definitely a 63 motorcade flag. There's a lot of debate about
with him owning it. Chance.
And that's what this is all about. It's all about provenance. It's all about history. But that's the moment.
This I love. Can I take this out?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So this I absolutely love.
Good.
This is...
Well, the best part about it is how many people even remember what this is.
Yeah.
This is truly a rarity. It's a phone.
Yeah. But it has no... This is... You would pick it up, and they would say, White House operator.
Well, better than that, think about this. Kennedy, wherever he goes, a team has to go before him and wire the house.
Right.
They had to pull in lines from the telephone pole.
Right.
So the Secret Service would go to Bing Crosby's house in this state and wire it so he could have a hotline to the White House.
So this is the phone that probably Marilyn was talking, you know, that he was supposed to stay at Frank Sinatra's house, and Frank had it all wired and ready to go, right?
Yes.
And then at the last minute, they said, no, he's got mob connections.
Right. Can't go there.
Can't go there.
He can come over.
So he went to Bing Crosby's house, and all of them would just come over to Bing Crosby's, but this was in his bedroom, right?
This was in his bedroom, and he would be able to literally pick up, get the switchboard at the White House, obviously. Things happened, but also I'm sure other things happened.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of stuff happened.
It's like the bat phone.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is the typewriter that he typed all of his speeches on in 1960?
In 1960, so again, people always ask about the provenance of these things. Evelyn Lincoln was Kennedy's secretary.
Yes.
And when Kennedy passed away, Evelyn Lincoln was tasked with the job of packing up the White House and all the possessions. Jackie let Evelyn keep a tremendous amount of material because it was nowhere for it to go. The phone came from Evelyn Lincoln. The typewriter came from Evelyn Lincoln.
So this is real.
Yeah, and the great part about it is what's even cooler
I know, I love that.
Evelyn Lincoln, right? Look.
Oh my God!
It's being sent to Evelyn Lincoln. So you have
Evelyn Lincoln. So you know, Evelyn Lincoln. It plays a huge role. We have a friend who has a letter from Evelyn Lincoln talking about how her husband was in a restaurant the night before he went to Dallas.
Wow.
And he heard two people saying, "Don't worry, he'll never come back from Dallas." He ran to the phone, to a pay phone, called Evelyn. Evelyn then went into the Oval and said, "Mr. President, you can't go. There's a plot against your life." And he said, "Evelyn, they'll get me at church if they want to get me. I'm going." But
James A. Garfield wrote a famous letter before he was killed. He said, "Assassination can be no more prevented than lightning."
Right.
And these guys were killed.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it has her name on it. And this is what he typed all of his speeches out.
Yeah, and they're unique because what's interesting about the typewriter is they have really large keys.
Yeah.
Right. So you actually could type a reading copy of a speech because
You mean a really big font?
big font. Yeah. So
yeah.
really big font. So when you're hitting the page, you're getting letters that are like, an eighth of an inch as opposed to tiny type. So yeah, it's just a part of that story. We know some very important speeches, including a speech in Dallas.
Yeah, wow.
Typed on that typewriter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Real quick, this is Felix Frankfurter. He becomes very important as a Supreme Court justice, but he's so. It's such an interesting thing. I really don't like Felix Frankfurter for what he did during FDR.
Right.
I believe he's the guy that turned the ship around and said, we're not taking any more Jews. Wasn't that him?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and he was Jewish, but he would not do anything, even though they briefed him personally on the Nazi camp atrocities, and he said, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Pretty sad.
Pretty sad. But on a positive note, this is the medal that was given him by Kennedy for civil rights.
Right.
So this is an important milestone in that moment of like, when you get into these type of pieces, I think it's more about, when you remember Kennedy, it's the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
It's civil rights.
Right.
It's the space race.
Right.
It's Camelot.
Right.
There are so many milestones in Kennedy's legacy, right? He did so much in such a short time. And even though, like, Frankfurter isn't our favorite person, right?
But it's like Churchill.
Right.
Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Right.
He's both.
Right, he's both. But you have to have Churchill.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's why he was there twice.
Yeah, right.
But I think but again, I think if you look at the lexicon of like this 2.5 years, it's important because it's so important in civil rights.
Let's go cross over here for
Yes.
a second, because you said Space Race
Yes.
and Camelot, and there are two amazing pieces.
Oh yeah, let's do this one first because this is probably my most fun thing in the entire auction. It's the littlest, but it's the best, right?
It is. This is remarkable.
I have to take my glasses off for this one. So White House, this is a White House card. Okay, so every president, starting with Ulysses S. Grant, had White House cards, and they were writing notes. Primarily, they were autograph seekers, but they did inter-office communications. But this one is, Dear Evelyn, there will never be Camelot again, Jackie. 1963.
So this is after he's killed.
He's dead.
And she helps her pack up because Johnson wants her out.
Quickly.
Yeah,
You're
like 2
you're
days.
Gone. Yeah.
Right.
I think 72 hours, Mary Gallagher, who's Jackie's secretary, and Evelyn Lincoln, who's John F. Kennedy's secretary, they're packing up everything. But you can imagine Jackie's mood, but to write this, there will never be Camelot again.
So what do you think that means? What do you think she meant by that?
It's so hard to read into.
I know.
But I think it's that moment of like, it's hope.
What was that era? What was, yeah.
He was the great unifier, right? Whether you were, even now, like the most staunch Republicans admire Kennedy.
Right.
Pete, whose collection, Pete Mark, a lot of these things came from, was an ultra-conservative Republican from Oregon, and he loved John Kennedy.
Kennedy would have been a conservative today.
Yeah, of course.
He would have been a conservative.
Yeah.
But this is,
But it sums up, right?
Oh, that is, how much do you think that's going to go for?
It could sell for anything. I mean, it could sell for 10,000. It could sell for 100,000. It's priceless.
It is.
It's priceless. This is one that no matter what you pay, I mean, this is the moment.
You will, yeah.
You can have this and nothing else.
Yeah.
This is your collection.
Yeah.
Because it's it.
Yeah. That is one of the most spectacular pieces. We are collecting at Mercury One. We're collecting things regarding the space race and man landing on the moon.
That's a pretty good one.
This is a great one. This is, if I'm not mistaken, does it come apart?
I'm sure it lifts off. Yeah. It's
right.
On a little
so this is what, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what NASA brought to the president and said, this is early, this is like 62?
Yeah, early.
Yeah, and they say, okay, we know you just said we're going to go to space.
This is what it's going to look like.
That's what the lunar lander is going to look like.
Mr. President, this is how we're going to land on the moon. And he laughed and said, are you crazy? It's too small.
That is, I mean, it's nuts.
And then you have Grumman, who is the actual manufacturer, who's building this for NASA, so that subcontracted out. But, this came from Evelyn Lincoln. She said it sat on his desk.
Unbelievable.
But again, you're back to like that moment where we're back to we're Mercury 7, Gemini, Apollo. You know, we're in the birth of that race of like, and again,
it was Camelot. It was a time where Americans could do anything.
And they were great.
And they were
and the greatness. And the greatness. And almost the purity of like you had a country that was so united behind this president. And I think that's what scares people.
So let's go one more place. I think this piece, because there's two letters here, but there's another one.
Yes, we'll grab the three of them. So we'll tell the story.
And let's tell it real quick and kind of go here. This is known as a Kennedy rocker, if you've ever seen. He always sat in rocking chairs like that one.
Yeah, so Kennedy, like the Camelot legacy really lives to me in two places. Whenever you see Kennedy, it's the rocking chair. I mean, you try to find a photograph of him in the White House and not in the rocking chair, right? So you're always in the rocking chair. 1954, he's chronic back pain from his service in World War II.
And really in grave pain.
Yeah,
and
almost
like
crippled.
Crippling pain, and has Addison's disease.
Yeah, and taking every kind of drug known to mankind to try to,
keep
braces
going.
Just to function. He's a young guy.
Right.
This is not an old guy, right? So he is referred to this doctor, Dr. Janet Travell. He goes to her office and he sits in a rocking chair in her lobby, and he has back relief, and they become friends, and she is a big believer in rocking for relief of back pain, to the point where Kennedy became so enamored with this therapy. And these are her actual notes on designing him his rocking chair. She took copious records of every part of his anatomy, measurements, to build him his own chair.
Every part of his own anatomy, I'm guessing, but Marilyn Monroe might have known something. Anyway,
she had more intimate parts of the anatomy.
Right, so this is the one that he sat in and went, I have relief. I want these.
This is the birth of the rocking chair.
That's unbelievable.
She was responsible. She went to the White House, became a chief surgeon. Together they published an article that was in U.S. World News Report talking about chronic back pain and the rocking chair being part of the solution to healing his back pain.
Right.
And she ordered rocking chairs put everywhere, on the boat.
It's crazy.
Everywhere, all the different homes. We sold one for $550,000.
So that one was a Kennedy made here.
Ordered by Travell.
This one I think starts at 50.
50.
What do you think this would go for? Because this was hers in her office.
I would think 250.
Do you?
I mean, to me, it's
great.
I'd rather have
you recognize it.
Because it's the beginning of all of this, right?
Well, I would like that with this, but this and that are sold separately.
I know, we do that intentionally.
It's like, I know. Real quick, because then we're going to take a break, and we've got so much to show you. Real quick, that is a piece of the limousine. That stain is his blood.
Yeah.
And then this is the wallet of Jack Ruby.
Jack Ruby. Found when he shot Oswald. This is evidence. So he shot Oswald, they arrest him, and this is the first thing they pull out of him besides the gun. And all of this goes into the Warren Court. It's all evidence. And people say, how did it get out? Earl Ruby was his brother. After the trial, they released it to him. They gave him his personal effects back. But if you think of this wallet stuffed, it has obviously he owned a cabaret, so you could just advertise a strip club. It's so amazing. His driver's license, his club membership cards. It's an incredible.
His YMCA card.
Yeah, what a glimpse into that time period.
Yeah, and nobody has this. Nobody anymore.
No,
it's all on your phone.
But you needed this to walk out of the house.
Yeah,
right.
You
had to have all of this.
Real quick before we go to the TV camera, this is.
That's my favorite thing in the auction.
I think this is probably the most one. It's kind of like the card. This is one piece that tells multiple stories.
Yeah. So Marilyn Monroe, you don't have to say much more than her name, was married to Joe DiMaggio for a brief period of time. And this came from the Joe DiMaggio auction many years ago. It's an inscribed photograph. I love you, Joe, Marilyn.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Right? To me, that is like, it's so iconic.
That starts at 50,000. There's not a chance that goes for. This is the back of the Neiman Marcus magazine.
Oh, absolutely.
Who could buy that?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be great?
I mean, that should be worth $100,000 easily.
Easily.
But it is that iconic.
Okay, back in a minute.
You want to see Sputnik? He's got it. I'm at 18, now I'm at 1900. I'm at 18, now I'm at 19. 18 it is down to $1,900. We're talking about a $100 bill here, folks. I'm at 1900, 2000 out of it 22. Now we go up $200 increments. I'm at 2000 out of it 2200, 2000 out of it 22, $2,000 out of it 22, 2000 out of it 22. Anything else from here? I'm at 22. Heritage Live, it's all us now.
So let's say that you're spending money that you really shouldn't, and you want to buy Sputnik. You don't have the money. Well, you can call American Financing, and they'll say, you don't have the money. You shouldn't spend it. But if you happen to have credit cards that you have maxed out, or you want a better rate on your home loan, American Financing can help you. 800-906-2440, or go to americanfinancing.net. These people have been in business for 20 years, family owned and operated, ethics. They're really great and help you get your financing in order. americanfinancing.net, 800-906-2440.
You had a Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize.
And it went for like 4 million?
103 million.
103. 103.
103,500,000.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
You didn't expect that.
No, but that money went to the Ukrainian refugees, to help the children. I mean, it was
Right.
the ultimate mitzvah, right?
Right,
It's like
right,
you
right.
can't do a better deed than that, right?
So, and is that the first one that ever came up for sale?
No, there have been others over the years,
Okay.
but it's the first one that shattered that ceiling,
Okay,
obviously.
okay. So this is a Nobel
This is a Nobel Prize. I mean, most people never get a chance to see one, right?
That's the Nobel Prize, and this one is the Science Award from Kennedy, right?
Exactly, exactly.
And this was for economics.
Yes, economics, and they've gotten really valuable. So families are like looking at these and like, I mean, this is $300,000 to $500,000.
Wow.
So I mean, maybe $1 million for a Nobel Prize, but they don't change hands very often.
No, I wouldn't imagine. I would imagine. This is remarkable.
Remarkable.
This is Stephen Austin's.
The first colonization of Texas.
What is crazy is this is the list of to do. You have to, all of the state language has to be in Spanish, not in English.
And it's it's the first 500 colonists. I mean, it's incredible.
It is.
It's at the time. I mean, it's
1824.
Yeah, for a piece of Texas colonization conditions of which the state becomes Texas, I mean, it's incredible.
In there, he has to not pay for, but encourage the building of churches, and I mean, it's a remarkable document.
Remarkable document, but a foundational document in the establishment of Texas, which is monumentally important. Right? It's like this again. We go into a different category of like some things are collectibles.
Yeah.
This is important.
Yeah.
Right. This is like we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. In here, a couple of things. First of all, this is MacArthur.
MacArthur.
Okay. And MacArthur is writing in, if you've ever heard MacArthur, he says, I shall return. Okay. Explain this.
So Philippines, MacArthur obviously has to leave, and he's basically telling them he'll be back. And this is the actual message to the president. This would have been left behind, and it would have been teletyped out because obviously there were no smartphones.
And this is in his handwriting.
In his handwriting, with his correction, signed MacArthur, and this is how it was broadcast and this is how it was transmitted to the president.
And here it says, through I shall return. First time.
Amazing.
I mean,
this is the original. It's like the Gettysburg Address. This is his moment.
Right.
This is MacArthur.
Right.
There's nothing like other than getting fired.
This is Teddy Roosevelt's. This is my favorite Teddy Roosevelt moment because it shows him,
the gunshot.
who he was, the gunshot. Okay, 1912. He's going into Milwaukee, wasn't he? Buffalo. And he is doing a bull moose party, and he's giving a speech. He gets off the train or the bus, and
came from Buffalo.
And he gets shot. Somebody comes up and shoots him in the chest, but he has a speech that he's about to give folded up here in his pocket. So when the guy shoots, he shoots through. Oops, sorry.
Always.
Through the speech.
This is the bullet hole.
Thick. So
right.
the speech is thick, and the speech saved his life.
Right. Well, I mean, he still was bleeding.
Yes, but it stopped the bullet.
Right. And so he just goes to the party and gets up and says, hey, I've just been shot, blood on his shirt. I've just been shot, but I'm going to do my best to get through this speech. Yeah. And he delivers it.
It's incredible. So years ago, the speech and the gun actually came up at auction.
Wow.
You know, in Maine. I bought the speech and the gun together. The gun my client has donated, I believe, to the Teddy Roosevelt Museum. And there are a handful of speech fragment pages that survived. Again, it's like, it's a different world, right? It's like this was in his pocket.
Yeah, I know. You know? And this is his moment.
Yeah, this is his moment.
The glasses.
Well, the glasses, like, every president has something they're known for.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And like,
this is his rocking chair.
This is his rocking chair. I mean, the spectacles of what.
Gosh, I think they should make these again.
They're cool.
Yeah, how bad were his eyes? Oh my gosh, my eyes are better than, are much worse than his. I can't, wow.
But yeah, but symbolic, and that's the whole thing about what we collect is like, it's symbolic of who he is.
You could just take a picture of that, and any American who's still paying attention would know what president that is.
You would think.
You'd hope. I don't want to go actually and test that theory. Let's go here. We have a couple of minutes left. These are so rare.
So rare.
So rare. This is 1819?
1819, 1820.
Okay. So this is a 20-star flag. This is the flag where we go from 13 stars, right?
Right.
To 20, and they have to decide, are we going to have 20 red and white stripes too? So they leave it at 13, but this is the first time we leave a 13-star flag.
An incredible province, a territorial flag that went to Oregon, amazing history. Like, and here's an aside, people don't realize, Abraham Lincoln was almost the governor of Oregon.
Was he really?
Yeah. He turned down, Zachary Taylor sent him a letter and said, we want you to be the governor of the territory of Oregon. We have a job for you.
That is absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, my client bought it because of the time period.
Was this flag, were these made not to fly outside, were they?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, this would have been something that would have been inside. This would have...
Look at the hand stitching. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Quickly, this is a...
Bins, Declaration of Independence. There were two well-known... there's a stone copy, which is an exact...
Yep.
copy of the Declaration of Independence, and then Binns at the same time decided to do a more ornate version, official printing.
This is the one that hangs in the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this one was hand-colored. My client, of all the things he owned, his two favorite things were a Washington painting and this. He had them side by side in his collection for 30 years.
Is this the guy who...
Yeah. Who had your painting?
Because I bought the Washington painting.
But in his house, side by side, he had this grand room. This was on one side, the painting was in the other, and a portrait, a Houdon bust of Jefferson in the middle.
Wow.
He was on every night.
Incredible.
This was his favorite thing.
It's such an amazing document.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. He had loaned it to Mount Vernon. It had hung there for many years in the Washington.
This hung in Mount Vernon?
Hung in Mount Vernon for probably 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, back in a minute.
So again, a foundational Texas document, and again, the bold print of the catalog, those are in the hand of Stephen F. Austin, and it goes on. 85, there's 85, now go to 90,000, 85, now go to 90,000, 90, now go to 95, 95, now to 100, 95, now 100,000, buck 10, now to 120, now 120, I've got 120, 130, now 140,000, now 140, 40, 150, easy, now 160, now 160,000. 60, 170, now 180,000, now 180, now 180,000, 170, now 180, 170, now did 180,000, ooh, 170,000. 170,000 right here in the room. Heritage Lab, what are you going to do? You got to cut, you're going to jump on it. How about 179, go to 175, they get the cut. 75, they cut. I can't cut a cut, you just have to top it at 180. Sure, 180, thank you, 180. Now, you've got to go all in, Heritage Lab, if you use your cut. Remember, one cut per lot. I'm going to 180, now to 190,000. What are we going to do? 180. Oh, hang on. 180 now, 190,000, 180 now, 190. Fair warning at 180,000. 180,000. Welcome to Texas. 180,000. Congratulations.
So how do you feel when you get up? When you get up in the morning, you feel your best, or do you have some aches and pains, some things that you'd like to get rid of? I will tell you, I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of the things that I love, like going over to Heritage Auction and actually hold in my hand some of these amazing items. Relief Factor is the cure for me. It reduces inflammation, and I want you just to try it. Try it for 3 weeks. I didn't think it would work for me. My wife made me take it, and I took it, and it's worked miracles for me. Just see if it works for you. You'll know in 3 weeks. 800, the number 4, relief. 800-4-RELIEF or relieffactor.com.
Quickly, let's go through
A little U.S. history?
a little U.S. history. This is an English report of Bunker Hill and has a little propaganda in it.
Yes.
Right?
But think about it. This is how information was transmitted. This is a broadside. This is how they actually would inform people of the goings-on of the day. So it's remarkable.
What people don't understand, too, is about 1850, 1880, when did paper start to change? And it became very brittle.
Very brittle.
This stuff has linen in it,
Yes.
and so it preserves forever.
And the ink back then was, you could submerge this in water.
Yeah.
And it's so stable.
Garfield?
President for 6 months. It's a rare document signed as president. One of our few presidents that didn't survive long.
Yeah. And Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize how significant Franklin was. I mean, he financed the war. Yeah. He was our diplomat. He was instrumental in the Constitution.
He was the Tesla before Tesla.
Right. He was we forget about the lightning rods.
Yeah.
Electricity.
Yeah.
I mean, he was such a genius.
There's this great editorial from the London Times. He was coming over, and they said, stay away from that ship when he comes in because it has a ray gun and he's going to burn all of London down.
Well, I'm sure it was his lightning rod.
Yeah,
right?
it was because of that.
Yeah,
it was because of that. This is extraordinary.
Yeah, you think about it. So the ship is the Antares. It's in Pearl Harbor. It's a normal day, and
this is the ship that first spotted the planes, right?
The moment by moment. So basically, you have people on duty, and their job is to literally record what's going on. Birds flew by, guys went out on a test, maneuvers, and they're reporting as it's happening. And this is literally, we see planes, they're coming. The bombs are coming. This is the moment by moment by moment record of Pearl Harbor in real time. Not 20 years later, somebody remembering what happened, but as it's happening. That's the kind of thing is the ultimate collectible in this world because it's a piece of history. It's not a recount of history. It's not somebody's opinion.
I think that's what draws me to all of this stuff.
Right.
Because you can have opinions on everything, but if I have the document and I show you the document, dude, don't tell me I'm wrong. Go back in time and tell the person who eyewitnessed it that it didn't happen.
Years ago, a friend of mine's daughter was writing a paper on George Washington, and she said, I need to do something different than everybody else is doing. So I took a volume of Fitzpatrick, which is the published letters of Washington, a good time period. I gave it to her, and I said, read his letters.
Yeah.
So she wrote this amazing report. She got like a D on it, because the teacher said it wasn't factual. So I went with her back to the school and said,
there it is.
There it is. Of course it's factual. These are his words. History's not the same.
Yeah, what is the Book of Virtues, where they took all of that stuff out? The original eyewitnesses, they later, 100 years later, just start editing all that stuff out. It's crazy.
But that's a difference between then and now, because especially in the 18th century, they had to write. They were super literate, right? So but everything in the care, like Jefferson, letters would go by horseback, courier, and they kept getting intercepted, and they would publish his letters. So he stopped writing anything of any that would encourage any controversy, and he would write in his letters, I fear to write anything that could be, spoken. I'll speak to you privately about it, because even back then they were worried about it getting out. But it was the only way to communicate. Lincoln is in the White House sending telegrams to Grant, Sherman, what's happening? That's the magic, I think, of why we love this stuff.
Let's go back here to this case, because
It's fun. So,
This is not original.
no, but this is. So John Schneider was Truman's Secretary of the Treasury, 1935. So this was the buck that Schneider gave to Truman, that he coined the phrase, "the buck stops here," and Truman signed it for him. They were best friends. So this was the buck that he gave to Schneider, but it was the buck from which the phrase was coined. And I bought that from Schneider years and years ago, part of Elvin Mock's collection.
And so was a sign made for that?
That was the sign that was on his desk. Not this one.
Not this one, but
that's in the Truman Library.
Right.
But this was as president, when you'd walk into the White House.
Right,
this
that
was
sat on his desk.
Yeah.
And was it made
Exactly.
for him?
Yeah, made for him. Made by him for him. Yeah.
Wow.
He ordered it.
That's amazing.
But that's Harry Truman.
Yeah.
And when he left office, how was his approval rating?
Horrible.
The lowest in history.
Yeah.
Now one of our most beloved
Yeah,
presidents.
he was a great
Great guy,
president.
yeah.
Great president. For anybody who is a fan of Game of Thrones, this is remarkable.
Awesome. So George Martin's wife sends this to a Comic-Con and they raffled it off. He actually typed his manuscripts.
They raffled this off?
Yeah, they raffled it off with a letter from her sending the manuscript. So if it wanted something of Game of Thrones with impeccable provenance,
this would be it.
Signed by him with a letter from his wife. Incredible.
So this is the book. This is
the book.
This is the book.
This is the book from whence it came.
These are
the rest of the manuscripts.
Oh my
so you
God! You get
all of these. Yeah, I think it's $10,000. But I mean, talk about something that's defining a generation.
Oh yeah.
It's so good. Have you watched the new one?
I have.
Oh, it's
I have.
It's
really
good.
good.
Really good.
It's really good. Let's go here.
Well, we're in Texas. You need a hat.
Yeah, I know. I know. This one is Truman's.
Truman.
Right?
Let me get these right. I think this is Eisenhower's. Let's make sure we did this right. This is Eisenhower's. This is Eisenhower's. They're both Eisenhower's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Eisenhower's hats.
Stetson, made here in Texas.
Made here in Texas. And, let's see. Or this might be a Truman hat. This is the Truman hat.
Yeah, because that's the one it says
this
right.
is the Truman hat.
So you can see, look right here.
They don't have the right photographs.
Harry S. Truman.
Yeah, so they were made expressly for the presidents. This one, again, came from Schneider. It was given to him by Truman. It comes with the traveling case that he traveled with it.
I love that traveling case. It has the presidential seal on it.
And then this is the Eisenhower hat with the traveling box as well, too.
That's just, I mean, and when you think of Eisenhower, the only other hat that you really think of on a president, I think of, is LBJ.
How about the anti-hat, John F. Kennedy? He never would wear a hat.
Really?
Because of his hair. He hated hats. Because when he went to the inauguration, remember he had to wear the top hat?
Yeah.
He hated it.
Really?
You'll never see a photograph of him wearing a hat.
And it's because of the vanity of his hair?
The vanity of his hair.
So do you know any picture that you can find of Abraham Lincoln? If his hair is coiffed, he hated it. He would sit down and they would comb his hair and comb his hair and comb his hair. And as they would walk back to, take the picture, he'd mess it up. And he never liked, and at some points, he just had people who were like, leave it, don't touch it. And those were the portraits that he hated. He loved his hair messed up, opposite of Kennedy.
Opposite of Kennedy.
Okay, we're gonna go around here and show 2 extra pieces.
If you're a fan of Jefferson, I can't imagine how you can live without this. I'm at 38,000 out, 40,000. 38 out, go to 40, 38,000. Fair warning, I can't take 39. I've got to have the 40 to make it work. And we'll do it at $38,000, and that'll be still available.
That's a letter from Jefferson that says it's like 4 months before he dies, and he's had to do a lottery to pay for his expenses. So I want to talk to you about your dog for just a second, and then back into the show. Rough Greens is, it's not a dog food, but it helps my dog eat the dog food. Most dog food is dead, and Rough Greens has probiotics and all of the vitamins, minerals, and everything that your dog needs. So you sprinkle it on the top, and you'll see a change in your dog. It's really amazing what I've seen with Uno. Now, I'm not saying that could have brought, Lee Harvey Oswald. If they had a bag of Rough Greens, it would have brought him back to life. But I'm not not saying that either. Rough Greens. Check it out for your dog. Get a free trial bag right now. Order your Rough Greens at roughgreens.com/Beck.
Pretty memorable moment.
Yeah, and that's why we want to come back. This is Jack Ruby's wallet. And tell people who don't remember Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby who they were.
It's an interesting story. So Lee Harvey Oswald could have been anything. We know he was a U.S. serviceman, right? We know he spent time in Russia, and the rest is an unknown story, but he was the assassin of John F. Kennedy.
Right.
So we believe.
Right.
So there's lots of myths. We've seen the movies.
You want to give your personal opinion?
Being there and seeing the proximity of it, I believe he shot him.
It's not a hard shot.
No,
It's
people
not a
make
hard
it sound like you can throw a rock.
Right, it's not a hard shot.
It's not that far.
Especially if you were in the military and you knew how to use a gun.
And he was a trained marksman.
Yeah.
I once had his marksman book, and he was a proficient shot at distance. Like way better than close up.
Yeah.
So, but the moment, remember, again, we're in a time period where there's no internet. Information's transmitted by that thing called the telephone, remember?
Right.
So you get, or telex, or, ticker tape machines. It's a slow process of how information traveled. So all we have are these TV cameras, these big clunky things. And there's the moment where he's coming out of the courthouse, Jack Ruby kills him. Why? Why did Ruby do it? Why? Was it revenge? Was he paid? Was this the mafia? Was it Lyndon Johnson? Or are we just all making up stories, right? We don't know.
Just some guy that came down and thought, I'm going to kill him.
But you still see in the news today, they're still petitioning to get the papers released.
Right.
So you have the Warren Commission come along, and was that just a giant whitewash of this whole event?
It's really weird, because when you get into conspiracy theories, it's hard to decipher, because when they don't close the loop properly,
right,
and then they close the door on it, that's where
it starts.
And it may not be anything.
Right.
It's just they didn't close the loop on it.
Well, this is a loop that's never been closed,
right,
a door that's wide open. So in the moment, Jack Ruby is arrested and he's incarcerated.
Now, this shooting happened in the basement, right, of the courthouse?
Of the courthouse
Here in Dallas.
In Dallas.
Okay.
So he's arraigned, and the next day he's shot. Okay, so it's a two-step process. So this is the second day when he obviously kills him. So they immediately arrest him. He has a gun, and he has his wallet in his pocket. So it's evidence instantly. This evidence becomes part of the Warren Commission, because remember, they're combing for everything. So when you look at this wallet, it's like this big when it's stuffed. But again, this is your smartphone. All the things that you needed to go to the YMCA, he had to pull out a card. He got pulled over by the police. Everything you'd need here, his membership cards, his advertisements for his strip club, he's approving his ads. But think about the moment.
Phone numbers.
Of what
phone
this
numbers.
is.
Okay, so this moment, I don't know if this was captured on film, but I know for sure it was captured on, I don't know what, even if it was video back then.
It was just transmission.
Yeah, it was transmission. So this scene, Jack Ruby comes up and shoots him, and in the courthouse that day happened to be this camera.
So we know there were 4 cameras on site because the world is there filming this. Again, these are live feed cameras. These would have been cables galore connected out to a truck, right? And they're broadcasting live. All right, so this is the camera that witnessed history. So this is the first time you see he's in the courthouse. They walk him out. You see him walked out, Oswald. So this is the camera that filmed that. It's right in the scene. It's in back of him. You see the picture. So it's clearly this camera. The next day, we don't know where this camera was in proximity. We think it's the long shot because we can't identify it.
Well, that's this telephoto lens.
That would make the most sense, right? So again, it's a part of the story. Right?
It's better than just part of the story. Not only is it KRLD, which is the CBS affiliate, it has the CBS marking, which I think for most Americans, it registered to them when you were watching CBS, which most people were, when the news finally hit and Walter Cronkite takes off his glasses, looks up, and then says, the president is dead. That was CBS.
But that's our internet, right? So that's how but that's the thing we talk about, the transmission of information. So again, it's a part of the story. It was there. It's a survivor. It was there.
So this changed the world. And they weren't sure at the time what it was going to be good or bad.
Right.
But this, we could see this instantly because of what's right behind you.
Right.
This is a total game changer for human history.
Absolutely, because what if that day hadn't happened?
Right, and what if we couldn't transmit it?
But think about it. There was a moment where probably, 90% of the world was listening to this?
Yeah.
CBS Television presents a special report on Sputnik 1, the Soviet space satellite. Douglas Edwards reporting.
Until 2 days ago, that sound had never been heard on this earth. Suddenly, it has become as much a part of 20th century life as the whir of your vacuum cleaner. It's a report from man's farthest frontier, the radio signal transmitted by the Soviet Sputnik.
All it was beep, 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 right?
But we were terrified.
Yeah.
This is War of the Worlds. This is Orson Welles. This is scaring us to death, right? We're in that moment where there's something in space.
Right.
And it's not ours.
Right.
It's the Russians.
It's the Russians. But this is the beginning of satellite.
Sputnik.
This is crazy.
It's crazy.
I was here a few weeks ago, and it didn't have these on it. It was just sitting there, and I saw this, and I walked up to somebody and went, is this Sputnik?
Sputnik.
I can't believe it. There's
Sputnik.
only 4 in the world.
They made 4. One.
Yep, one there.
One there.
That one burned up,
Absolutely.
right? Then one in Russia.
Yes.
That is at their Smithsonian.
Yeah, their Smithsonian.
They gave us one for our Smithsonian.
Exactly.
And
this came from the family of the scientist who built it.
In
So-
Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. He was a Russian, obviously, but yeah, Czechoslovakia. And this was in the Czechoslovakian equivalent of their Smithsonian.
Right.
But it's, and then you have the Tesla receiver.
This is crazy.
the radio.
So this was sending out, they had to test them first.
Yes.
This model was to test the beep. And if I'm not mistaken, the interference of the sound, the
frequency, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the frequency as you were close to the Earth.
Because I believe the one that went in space, they changed the trajectory and the arms go that way. So I think it's a different, when you see the final one, I think it's flipped.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is tied to, does this still work?
We had it turned on one time. It does still beep, but I don't want to blow up the building.
I know, it is crazy. So this is in impeccable condition.
But Glenn, the best thing about this is
right there.
he's still around. This guy Tesla. He's even back then.
Tesla, look at that, with the old Soviet star.
But
on
it's so
it.
befitting it's a Tesla, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It gets good mileage.
So was this built specifically for
Specifically, yep. Everyone had a radio transmitter attached to it, and this is how it's been for all these years, right?
That's incredible.
Another survivor of, like, again, from that time period, boy, it's the birth of the space race. It's on, and then we get now we go to Kennedy. Everything goes back to Kennedy.
Yeah.
The Russians are ahead of us.
You put this auction together.
Yes.
Is it all from that time period specifically? Because you have some things that are not, but a lot of it is this.
Yeah, I got hooked on the 60s thing, and it's
Yeah.
like these auctions that I'm doing, these platinum auctions, are kind of a glimpse into my head. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I kind of build them to try
How
to.
do you get your job? It's the greatest job ever.
It is the greatest job ever. It's fun, but it's like, and that, I'm glad you appreciate that, because it's fun kind of putting the pieces of the story together.
Oh, it is the best. It is the best.
And this is iconic, right? This is like, it's Sputnik.
It's Sputnik. That's all you have to say.
You gotta
It
say.
is Sputnik. Okay, when we come back, we're going to take a quick hop to the White House and the White House Christmas of the past.
Belongs to our Space Department. We have a great upcoming space sale. But now, it's the beginning of the space race, the full Sputnik lab. This is not a replica. It's not something someone made to look like like it. This is a lab model. 110,000, now go to 120, 120, 130, now 140,000. 130, now 140, 140, 150, now 160,000. 150, now 160, 150, now 160, 60, 170, now 180. 70 now 180, 70 now 180, 70, 170 now 180, 170 now 180, $170,000. Anybody else? 170,000, 180, now 190, he's all in. 280, now 3, gotta look a little higher. What do you think? Can you get it to 3? He does, he's in orbit now. 300 now 320, 300 now 320,000. Heritage Live, real money now, 300 now $320,000. The beginning of the space race, we have a lot of beginnings here. In this sale. This is the beginning of the space race. I'm at $300,000. Anybody else beyond that? $300,000. Fair warning. Then you are in orbit, my friend. $300,000.
So this is a Christmas White House collection.
Yes.
Right?
Every president loved Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And this is whether it's their china, mementos, stockings that FDR hung.
This is crazy. Could you lift that? I don't even want to.
You want the stocking? Or
Yeah,
you
the
want
stocking. This is, I mean, look at how simple. I mean, that's the White House Christmas stocking.
Yeah. Well, FDR was he was obviously in office quite a few years, but he was a big one in sending out Christmas gifts. And every year he'd make a different Christmas gift. And you have China, White House China are super collected. These are Christmas cards.
This is this isn't being broken up, is it?
No, this is a set. So, but again, this is from FDR and Eleanor, but every year, 36, 37, 38. And this was the Christmas.
13 years he was in office.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? A complete set of Christmas cards.
Wow.
And then you just keep going on. And what Ron and Mary Seeley were these collectors, and they spent decades collecting Christmas. So you have the Christmas card that was never sent, signed by John and Jackie Kennedy, 1963. What would have been, right? Would never happen.
Amazing.
Yeah, then you have inaugural addresses. These are inscribed on Christmas. He would give these to his cabinet members, whether it's Kennedy or FDR. You have Jackie Kennedy talking about the White House, who chose this picture to give the White House staff this year. He loved it so much. Thank you for making him proud Christmas. Talking about 1964, talking about how proud she was of her husband who loved Christmas.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. And the D-Day prayer.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. You should take time to read it. And then
just mementos, whether you have Truman as president writing about Beethoven, no less, to Clark Clifford, who was important in the creation of Israel. And, you have that on Christmas Day, 1946. Ronald Reagan, Christmas card. Oh. Calvin Coolidge talking about Christmas. Truman and Bess Truman wishing them a Merry Christmas.
Look at this. United States Military Telegraph, A. Lincoln.
It was an 1863 dispatch to release 2 prisoners of war.
And then you have
TR.
TR.
With his glasses. There they are.
There they are in the other room. That is crazy. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
If you haven't checked out a Heritage auction site, it is fun just to look and to just relive all of the history and see all of the pieces that are coming out constantly. You can go to ha.com. ha.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
You win some, you lose some. We got the Teddy Roosevelt glasses, the speech with the bullet hole in it, the colonization for Texas. We missed on some of the JFK stuff, but Sputnik is ours. Eat your heart out, Elon.